Welcome back to the End Cut movie review. Today we have Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice in the house. This is your brains on drugs.
As we start out, we should mention that we haven't actually seen the first Beetlejuice movie, so this is our first foray into the Beetlejuice universe, and quite honestly, to start with, it's a great movie. And the plot of the film centers around Winona Ryder's character coming back to the house from the original Beetlejuice, I believe, and she brings along her daughter who meets a boy. Turns out the boy is actually not who he seems to be, and that brings back Beetlejuice into this world. And plot-wise, the movie is a little bit loose.
The juice
is loose.
The juice is loose.
And plot-wise, the movie was a little bit slow, I think, in some parts. Now, obviously, it's going to be really hard to recapture the, I guess, imagination or the beauty of the original Beetlejuice because it was so far out of the usual sort of norms that movies were made back then, typical Tim Burton. But this movie, you can tell watching it relied a lot on callbacks of characters bygone in the more recent film. And, I mean, that's all sequels these days. That's what all sequels are struggling with. Aspects of this movie that really worked well, I mean, Michael Keaton, incredible. He is so good at acting, and he's probably one of the best actors we have in this timeline. And the movie really shone the brightest when Michael Keaton was front and center. I mean, you could have done the whole movie and it just been Beetlejuice, an hour and 40 minutes of just Beetlejuice, and honestly, that would have worked really well, and I would have loved to have watched that. I mean, it's very similar to like the way he sort of acted in the movie Birdman, where he's just like this crazy, eccentric sort of guy. Beetlejuice is along the same sort of lines. But if you put him in the movie for the whole time, it might have lost that edge when he comes onto the movie and provides the comedic relief. So I understand why they didn't want to just put him at the front of the movie and just have him the whole way through. It sort of helps the humor that his character brings to this movie by having it sporadically, and then when it sort of catches you off guard, it really makes it funny. Willem Dafoe's character in this movie was really good as well. He was sort of along the same lines as Michael Keaton, where he had this sort of comedic relief and also came from a different aspect of the movie that was sort of hilarious in its own way and had these sort of inside jokes that made you laugh because it was quite ridiculous, and that adds to, I guess, Tim Burton's typical ridiculousness that he does so well in all of his movies. Jenna Ortega was just her typical typecast self. She's literally stuck in the embodiment of a high school teenager with angst, or a girl who's getting chased by some sort of a slasher guy who wants to stab her to death.
But she did play like a lot like Wednesday. I mean, if you've watched the Wednesday series, it was almost like she walked from lot to lot, and then she was like, you know what?
She literally was Wednesday Addams.
Yeah, put me in a different dress and we're good to go. Yeah. I'll play the exact same character. Not to say that she was bad. She was just, that's just bland. That's just who she's typecast as now. Yeah. And I mean, it's not a knock on Jenna Ortega or anything. I mean, she probably perfectly acts as a angsty teenager because that's what she keeps getting cast as, and so she's done that perfectly because most teens are boring. When you're at that age, you're just walking around thinking life sucks and that life is hard when you're like, you don't have one little thing in life that's hard at all. And she does that perfectly. So, and she did do that well on the screen. Your whole time you're looking at her going, okay, I believe you that you would be like a 16-year-old now, whatever, even though she's like 25. I felt that this movie was a little disappointing. I didn't really know what to expect watching Beetlejuice because, as we said at the start, we haven't watched the first one. It was weird. The pacing was off. It was like from scene to scene to scene just to build the story super quickly and kind of get you to where they wanted you. It was, very quickly done. I didn't feel like I could entrope myself into this film. Just didn't know what was going on. It was just so quick. I was like, whoa, I don't really know what I'm watching right now. All I'm laughing at is Michael Keaton, who every time he pops up on screen, I'm laughing. And then you got these other timelines and storylines building, and it just, to me, didn't really make any sense. Like, Monica Bellucci's character comes in and she just wants revenge. You want teen angst over there, which is Jenna Ortega. You have Winona Ryder, who has, like, depression, and she's getting, like, manipulated by her new husband, which is played by Justin. And then you have the mum, who's, like, a narcissist, but also going through trauma. Like, it was just a lot to take in from the very start, and I just thought I was kind of, like, mind-boggled. But after the first 30 minutes, it then got very good. I liked Michael Keaton jumping in there, as Geordie already said, Willem Dafoe jumping in there, and then the whole film played out really well. The script work was good, the costume design, the set design, it was beautiful to watch. The music, and especially Michael Keaton singing at the very end, oh my God, that needs to be put on replay.
I feel like the perfect way to sort of describe this film is that when Michael Keaton came on, you were loving it, and then when he was off the screen, you were sort of just waiting and anticipating for him to come back on screen again. That's probably the perfect way to emphasize how much of an impact he had on this movie, because when he wasn't there, aside from Willem Dafoe, you were just sort of like, okay, bring Beetlejuice back on, get him back on. The only one who sort of helped that were the reoccurring characters from the first film, which was Bob and Dylan and Jake and the bobblehead, tiki head looking dudes who were like, they don't even speak, but when they came on, that was also great comedic timing and funny as well. So certain things that sort of like didn't work very well in this film was there was just too many slow motion scenes of Monica Bellucci. So it was just like demon goddess kind of thing that was floating through these scenes, and she sucks out all these people's souls and stuff.
Lucky souls, man.
Just one too many scenes of it. It happened maybe 5 or 6 times, and it was just serious.
One thing I want in this film is to be on that Soul Train. If you've already seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. The Soul Train is the peak cinema of this film. All I want to do is go down that Soul Train. How do I get there?
First of all, though, where's the white people?
True.
That's got to be racist.
Got to be.
I didn't see one white person on the Soul Train or dancing around the Soul Train the whole time. That's got to be racist. Hasn't Tim Burton seen the new age of TikTok white man dancing? We're back. We're absolutely back.
I would absolutely be put on that Soul Train because I can seriously break a fucking move.
No, you can't. This guy creaks.
You saw me.
This guy creaks when he tries to break any.
So at the very start of this film, as I've already mentioned, I didn't like it, but it did win me over. That was the one thing I have to give this film. It did sway my opinion. And if you guys are going into this like us who have only watched this one, you just give it a chance. You need to go see it. I recommend it highly.
We haven't seen the first one, so I think this movie would definitely have enough of the callbacks and sort of people in the movie in this one that were in the original one for the fans of the first to come back and flock to it, because obviously that's what the marketing of these whole sequels and everything like that come out 40 years later is all about. It's all about bringing the characters back onto screen that we used to love so much as kids. So it definitely has enough in it for the new fans. Like Josh said, we came away enjoying the movie. I mean, this is how you test whether a movie did really well, if you want to go and watch the original one. And I do now. Eventually we'll watch the Beetlejuice one because I want to see what it's like.
Be on the lookout for that because we are going to be reacting to that live. So at the end of these reviews, we do a rating, and I reckon you guys should go see this. Like we've already said, if you're a fan of the first one, go see this. If you're a new fan, definitely see this and just give it a chance after 40 minutes.
Yeah, I would rate this film watchable for sure. It was funny. Like, we were in the cinema and it was pretty packed, like almost full. You don't see that anymore. That's how much of the draw the original Beetlejuice had. And it's good to see as well. Like, when you walk into a cinema and, you know, who cares what other people think, but when you walk into a cinema and you see it full now, or at least over half full, you think this is good because you don't see that anymore in movies these days. So I would highly recommend anyone to go see it, especially like kids and stuff. And also, I love that they used one F-bomb in this movie. It's rated M. They had one F-bomb and it was perfectly timed. And I love that they did that. You don't see that anymore in movies because they don't want to. They don't want to take the risk. They don't want to, you know, live life on the edge. But find, you know, Tim Burton, he's been around long enough. He's happy to take that risk, and I love that he did that. And Michael Keaton's execution of that fuck was perfect.
It literally was, because he had 2 opportunities and used the right one. I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, been another End Cut movie review. Peace, we out.
Peace.
And cut.